Alrighty, so welcome to What Would My Chiropractor Say? So this is our second Zoom presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Ralph and myself, we're just going to talk very briefly about the things that we're doing every day that we could do a little bit better in order to preserve our adjustments, let's put it that way. Make the most out of our, help our body the most with healing and holding its adjustments. So just 10 basic everyday postures, and then at the end we're going to have time for some questions and comments. So we're going to get right into it. So the very first thing we're going to talk about, Dr. Ralph is going to tell us why our posture is important.
So posture is very important for all of us. These are some pictures that, let me throw this for a second. Nope. Oh, sorry. That just show, we think, oh, it's just my neck. I just have some neck pain. Is it coming from the muscle, the joint, the nerve, all that stuff? But in here, this is a picture of the back of the head and the neck. And we see some of the vascular supply and the nerve supply that come out of that neck area. And if you were to see a side section view of this area right here, that is the first bone in your neck, your C1. And that's alone, if you look at all those little yellow zigzags, are all the nerves that influence your jaw, your balance, your hearing, everything like that. So, some of the postures we're going to go over here with you help to preserve your adjustments, but help with holding that so it's not affecting that neurology in a negative way. Things like balance will be off, things like mood disturbance, a whole list of things, even in the pelvis, if we're slouching and sleeping position. Again, that's all the nerve supply down into legs, knees, ankles, joints, low back pain, bladder, bowels, all that stuff in there. So it's so important. And we are clearly very passionate about this.
Okay, so position number one that we tend to do most often in our society right now, texting is a huge thing. You can't go anywhere without someone seeing people on their phone, and most of the time you see this first gentleman, neck forward, head down. Last presentation, we talked a little bit about each degree that you tilt your head forward adds pounds to the what your muscles in the back of your neck need to hold up. So by the time your head is looking down like this, it's as heavy as a bowling ball. And we know bowling balls can be, anywhere from 10 to 16 pounds. So think about all of that pressure pulling on the neck musculature to just hold up your head. That is going to make those muscles very tired very quickly. So what you can do instead is make sure that you are stacking your head, your ears on top of your shoulders and supporting and holding that phone up. You can support that like Dr. So with your elbow. You can even hold that a little bit closer so that it's a little bit easier. You're not just holding and then only using the shoulder to hold up that phone. So again, that angle is beautiful. It's not stressing the neck. And the other thing, if you need to hold it down a little bit further, you can just glance down with your eyes. Don't bring your chin down. Okay, so these slides, some of them will have writing on them, some won't, but they'll be available when I post the link for the YouTube video. So the second one is reading. So we're doing a lot of that. We've done a lot of that in the last 20 months. And typically we're either reading in a chair or in a bed. A lot of people are doing that in the bed. So you can see you really want to make sure, again, that you're stacking your hips on top of your shoulders and your head on top of those shoulders as well. If you need a support pillow in your back, again, you want to have that book kind of like you would your cell phone. The other thing is right here, you could add, if you were sitting on a couch, and pretend this table is not here, you could put a pillow so that your arms are just resting on that pillow. And again, same thing in your bed. You do not want to be just having your upper back touch your headboard and have your neck kind of cranked forward without any support on your low back. You want to make sure you're supported by those pillows, and that again, your book is up up a little bit higher so that your neck isn't having to tilt forward. Number 3 is watching TV. Now, quite often we don't think about this, but even having our heads slightly turned for, 1, 2, 4, sometimes up to 8 hours a day, depending on if it's a weekday or a weekend, that really works, causes, again, extra muscle activity on the side that you're turning and then stretching on the side that's not. So we do recommend forward facing always. If you have to move a chair, do so. The other thing is, especially too when you're gaming, making sure you're not looking up too much or looking down too much. So again, just facing forward to the screen. And then in terms of seating position, again, like the reading, you don't want to be slouched on that couch with your feet up or twisting in sideways with your feet up and then looking at the the TV. So this is like with and without the same posture, but with and without the ottoman. What you do want, and this gentleman could have an ottoman as well, you want to make sure that, again, you're sitting on top of your sit bones, your actual buttocks, as opposed to the couch being on the flat of your back. Okay, so you want to be sitting on the sit bones versus your low back, not like that. Yeah. Fifth is getting in and out of a car. Putting one leg at a time is really, number one, stresses your hip, knee, and ankle, but also twists your low back. And then you have to bear all of your weight. It's almost like a twist and lift. It's probably one of the most precarious positions your body will be in at any point during the day. And especially if it's not great conditions and it's icy or snowy, you could slip, and that causes even more of a twist and pull. So what you want to do is put your bum down first, scoot all the way back, and then bring your legs as a unit into the car, and then you do the same thing getting out of the car. Both legs out, scooch up a little bit, and then out, using the door frame as a handle or a help to propel you out of the car. Picking something up off the floor, you don't necessarily need to be pregnant to use this. Golfers use this quite a bit, picking up something off the floor. The main thing is that this allows the 1 foot off of the floor allows you to maintain a straight low back. The second you have both of your legs planted and you lean forward, all of the weight of your upper body is being basically hinging on all your ligaments and your muscles in your lower back. That also, so when you go down, not such a big problem, but coming back up, this back needs to produce quite a bit of force in order to lift half of your body weight upright. Your alternative, so this typically, I would say to do this holding something as you're bending forward. Otherwise, crouch down on one knee as opposed to squatting with both, okay? Pick up the object, and then you can use your hand on this, this knee here to push yourself back up, like so. Perfect. Sleeping positions, we should be getting between 6 to 8 hours a night. So that's quite a long time. Best would be sleeping on your back as it distributes your weight evenly. You want to make sure that you have a good pillow so that your neck is in a neutral position. It's not slanted up, it's not leaning back. And sometimes people, depending on your support in your mattress, might need a little pillow below your knees, under your knees. A good alternate is side sleeping. You want to make sure that not doing this, sorry, don't use this arm under the head. You want to make, as that will kind of lift the angle of your neck under your pillow. Again, you want to have a nice neutral position of your neck. You don't want your neck slanting up, nor do you want it slanting down. Sometimes using a pillow between your knees will help, especially if you have any hip or low back issues. Worst is sleeping on your stomach. Your neck is jammed sideways, and it also increases the curve in your low back and jams all of those joints together. So this is really a double whammy. Now, in order to, there is my favorite strategy to combat getting into this position while you're unconscious and sleeping is getting a king size pillow. You don't need a body pillow, and hugging it while you're on your side. That's going to do two things. It's going to give your body the sensation of something's on your stomach, and it's also going to prevent you from being able to roll all the way forward onto your stomach while you're sleeping. And then over time, you'll need the pillow less and less. 8, carrying a bag or a purse. We definitely want to avoid this posture, especially when we're coming out of the grocery store or, just regular shopping where you're just carrying shopping bags, okay? You want to, if it's a larger purchase, you want to try to break it up so that you have 2 bags, and you want to make sure that you're not leaning to one side and hiking up your shoulder in order to hold that weight. I mean, if anything, get a cart all the way to your vehicle. When you're carrying a purse, if you're carrying something with just a smaller handle, you want to make sure that the bag is tight to your side so that you're not, it's not banging on your hip as you're walking. And it's secure, and you're able to kind of keep it in your center of gravity. Better would be to use a cross style messenger bag. And if you can kind of take a look and see in this picture, when you're only using one strap, you're kind of hiking up that one shoulder, which is activating the muscles in that neck and shoulder area. When you use the cross body, you're able to maintain a more neutral shoulder. And then if you do have a backpack, which you might not, but a student in your home might, we definitely discourage one shoulder. Again, that's hiking up the one shoulder, that's activating all the muscles in that neck. You need the backpack on both shoulders, and you need it tight and high up on your back, not low and hanging down near the bum. Number 9, brushing teeth. How many of us do this every morning and then every evening? Yes, we don't want to get toothpaste all over the counter. However, you can always clean that up. Much easier than fixing your back. So what you can do is, you can see this gentleman we've opened up the cabinet door. He's got one leg up to help keep that back straight while still leaning a little bit forward. So you've got some weight on that foot so that the weight comes off the low back. Using the counter to support your upper back, and then slightly leaning over the sink. Now, obviously, you're going to need to bend over to get the water to rinse out your mouth, but you don't want to be holding this position the entire time. And last but not least, those of us with furry children, we have to walk those often. We do recommend not using just one hand to hold the leash. Definitely using 2. This one, I couldn't get a really great picture, but what you want to do is have the open end of the leash. So like this woman is holding the open end away from the dog, and your other hand holding onto the leash. So should the dog lurch, you are not being pulled with one hand, your whole body will go, okay? And you can, definitely not also, if you have a dog that runs or startles easily, have that wrapped around your waist. You want to be able to let go should you have to, so that dog doesn't drag you down. In conclusion, obviously, we can all work at our different postures. No one's perfect, not even the doctors, but it's important to be even just mindful and aware. So even if you catch yourself in these postures, that's fantastic. Your brain is now aware that you're doing something that might not benefit you, and you can change it. And over time, the more you're aware, the more you watch, the easier it'll be to maintain that. Any damage done up until this point can always be corrected. Obviously, getting in sooner than later is better, just for your ability to have a quick healing. You can always schedule a consult in our office. Anyone, friends or family, you do not need to book a new appointment. We can definitely discuss either over the phone or in person if chiropractic could benefit something yourself or a friend or family member might have. We do a full exam, which includes in this office we have technology to measure nerve stress as well as muscle tension. So how well is your brain actually sending those nerve signals to your body and back, and what are your muscles doing in response to that? And that'll let us know exactly what's going on with you and how your body is handling all of its stress. This is going to be recorded, and I will be posting this link on YouTube. You feel free to send the link to any friends or family. And again, we will send out the slides too with that YouTube link. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that you're doing, your sitting posture, your desk, your couch, an armchair, your car, please feel free to take pictures and send it to us at nvibechiropractic@bellnet.ca, and we'd be happy to review that with you. Excellent. So I'm going to open this up and ask if anybody has any questions to go ahead.
Yes, hi, Dr. Royer. So I'm curious about the very first slide that you showed, and I think that it had a picture of the vagus nerve, and I have read. I'm just curious to know if you could explain to me what the vagus nerve, what its function is.
Yep, just give me 1 second.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, and maybe Dr. Ralph can field that question for us.
Well, the vagus nerve, that's a great question, Joan. The vagus nerve actually contributes to a number of things, almost everything, It's Latin for the great wanderer. It can affect, really the research that we're seeing now is a lot of this sympathetic versus parasympathetic. So, to relax the system, to reduce that vagal tone, right? Because we're all in this fight or flight response, which is a sympathetic dominant response. And we do see a lot of those cranial nerves come down out around the brainstem, which we can see in this picture right over here, that C1 area.
Right.
So again, the neurology in that area is so vast, but the neurology in the whole body. So the vagus nerve, things like energy, sleep-wake cycle, things like digestion, right? Which can also be influenced by diet and gut dysbiosis and all that stuff. So we're seeing a ton. So, specifically, it affects everything in the whole body, right? With regards to sympathetic versus parasympathetic relaxation.
Okay. So in chiropractic care, would you do an adjustment that would impact that vagus nerve so that it helps with the functioning of, say, the sympathetic response? If you're highly agitated and somewhat stay in that state for lengthy periods of time, would chiropractic care be one suggestion of working with that to try to balance your system?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
So yeah, in even just adjusting the C1 alone has huge impacts in being able to calm down and engage that parasympathetic relaxation. So the sympathetic is very like, you know, revving the engine, pushing on the gas, and the parasympathetic and the vagus nerve is putting on the brake. Okay, so we want to, you know, you need a little bit of both, but you don't want to be stuck with your foot on the gas. And getting adjusted really helps you be able to modulate how much gas you put on versus take off, as opposed to being stuck all the way.
Okay. So I've got one more question. When you talk about muscle tension and people can release muscle tension in a variety of ways, right? So, you can exercise, you can do yoga, you can swim. Those are the things I do. So do you think that chiropractic care releases muscle tension? I'm thinking specifically of emotion that's held in a part of your body. And I was just curious about that, do you find that a lot of people release emotion while they're getting adjusted or afterwards?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I say that's probably the number one. And that kind of even goes back to your first question, which is, the vagus tone and the sympathetic and parasympathetic. Prehistorically, if we were in the wilderness and we met a saber-toothed tiger, we go into that sympathetic dominance, that fight or flight response. So we run away or we gear up all our muscles, tense up so we can fight that. Guess what? We don't have that anymore, hopefully, thankfully.
Right.
However, I do find that we have more of that because our body doesn't know how to filter that correctly. Just driving through an intersection, I'm hands on the wheel. I got to make sure nobody's hitting me from this side. What's the light doing? I'm in sympathetic fight or flight response, right? So I can't down regulate that appropriately and then add more stress. There's some wonderful research going on with Dr. Heidi Havik, and we learn actually that the body, once there's an injury in there, the brain can't communicate with the rest of the body appropriately. And then what it does is we get some fibrotic tissue going into the muscle. So now it's become a chronic problem and it takes a lot longer to correct that, right? So then that muscle, the bigger muscles are activated for us to run away, and the smaller little eyes that are closer to the spine to tell us how to perceive our environment are shut off.
Right.
So yes, there's tons of things that can help to relax those muscles, but how deeply rooted is it? That's what we would have to do an examination and figure out. Yeah.
And so sometimes too, when we're so stuck in that fight and flight, we don't have time for emotion. So they're like, so when we get into that relaxation, sometimes, yes, that enables us to be able to have and process those feelings. So quite often, sometimes patients will say, oh, you know what? I got into the car and I just started crying. Is that normal? Yes, that is normal. Your body is now relaxed enough that it feels safe, that it can let go of some of the emotion.
Okay.
So it's all tied in. It's not the same for everybody. Everybody's got their own thing, but yes, definitely. If you think about, just having the right communication and the right alignment, lets the body be as relaxed as possible to deal with all of the things. That's the real basic bare bones of it.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much again for
Yeah.
your very thoughtful questions, Joan.
Wonderful.
We look forward to seeing you next month.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks.